This is amazing to be doing this as I am now driving in the rain, and the Cojones virus is a driving movie. That's who knew?
Yeah, I can't think of a better way to cover a road trip movie than with the director while he's on a road trip. Welcome, guys. We are back with another edition of Schlockaholics. Today we have a very special selection brought to us by Septimson himself. We also got Cody down there looking all furry and adorable as always. How's it going, baby? And we got Evan Jacobs in the house, director of said film, which, Brandon is going to explain to us now and tell us why he chose the Cojones virus from 2022, correct? This is just the last year this was released.
Yes, just last year. It was quite impressive that this just kind of released out. Now, I've been kind of a fan of Anhedonia films for a while. A friend of mine...
I'm glad I wasn't the only one.
Excuse me while I blub up for this.
Yeah, you're bubbling up. Yes. I love it.
I know for me, I was introduced to Anhedonia films through a mutual friend, Dave Streggy.
Dave.
Runs Inside Movies Galore, because he said, there's these death toilet movies. And I said, I like movies that are weird like that. Yes, let me know. He said, this guy might actually be willing to kick you like a code to watch some of his stuff. So I ended up doing a thing on my channel called the Anhedonia Project. Hey, Mike McNally, great to see you again. And I've covered pretty much every release I can think of on that. But
I am grateful.
So I wanted to cover Anhedonia films on this channel because I think that a lot of the films can count as schlocky. And I say that in an affectionate way.
No, I am honored. I am honored. I would agree 100%.
And then I asked you yourself, which film would you think would be one of those films that would be appropriate for the talk? And you picked the Cojones virus. I was like, okay, that's good. I kind of like that one. And so that's how we went. And that's the whole of it. I mean, I've been watching them pretty much within a week of them releasing, depending on what's going on in my life, and so I can do that Anhedonia Project episode, which is kind of like my first impressions show on my channel, except it's exclusively Anhedonia stuff. So, very good stuff on that, and I think this is actually a pretty good grade film as far as the films I have seen. Well, I guess that's a lot of them. So, so I'd say this is definitely on the good side of the line.
Well,
right
thank
on,
you,
man. Well, thanks for suggesting it, Evan. If it's all right with you, we're going to run the trailer very briefly for the people here, and then we'll dive into our first impressions. This was certainly my first time seeing this. Second Evan Jacobs film. Oh, no, third. I'm lying.
Can I just say something really quick? This is the only thing I really wanted to interject into this conversation. When I came up with this idea, COVID, it was like 2019. And I was like, coronavirus, Cojones virus. Oh, yeah, I should do that. I should make a movie called the Cojones virus. And then I said to myself, sorry, no, don't do that, because by the time this thing's over, everyone will have forgotten about the coronavirus. No one's going to remember what the Cojones virus is. So I was 100% wrong as usual. And I just wanted to give that little tidbit.
I think all of us were at some point, dude. There was that point at the beginning, especially like tail end of 2019, early 2020, where I was like, BFD, it's going to be over in 2 months. And then all my conventions got canceled.
And you've got to answer the one question that needs to be answered before the discussion ends, which is, how many packs of Big League Chew and bubblegum cigarettes did you all go through in the filming of this movie? And was that the biggest budget item in the movie?
You want me to answer that now or answer that later?
Fire away, bud. I would say my guess would be the biggest budget item would be the gas, because
yeah, true.
Well, no, gas and inflation had not yet done what they have done now. So actually, all that bubble gum, all that stuff had really nothing to do with me. That was Mike, the star of the Cojones virus and the star of Death Toilet. We just started shooting, and he's all, yeah, I'm going to be smoking. First it was just bubblegum cigarettes. I was like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden it went into Big League Chew. And then all of a sudden it went into that plastic thing that rolls up. So, yes, the majority of this film's budget, which if you've seen the film, there really wasn't one, but the majority of the film's budget would have gone to the bubblegum.
Amazing. That fills me with joy. Me and Cody might have spent half the budget today just prepping for the...
Well, you guys
went all out over there. Original is best, though. I followed Mike's advice.
See, you'd agree with the character of the movie.
So yeah, let's run that trailer real quick so the people out there in YouTube land can get a little taste of what we're talking about here. Let them bub up, if you will, and we'll come back with those first impressions real quick.
I can't. There's no room between you and the steering wheel. It's. Wait, what are you? You steering the car? You want to drive? Oh, sure. Yeah, I guess. If that makes you happy. Okay. Yeah. Do you have a license? I mean...
I love that trailer. It got me interested when I first saw it.
Fun fact, when we head up with the kids for our little, play date later, we are going to be going to a place called Octopus Gardens where we can actually get those candy cigarettes. I think it was Roundup was the ones he had up there. So that'll be cool. I'll post some pics later
that
if we
is
end up
awesome.
successful on that. So yeah, Brandon, I guess since this is your rodeo here, tell us about what was your first impressions of this when you first saw it?
Well, I mean, I always watch them very first time, usually within a week of their release, if I can. And I was actually excited about this one because sometimes they just drop, and I didn't even know it was coming until it drops. But this time, I had forewarning about it, and I was curious because I'd seen the trailer. So I thought this is going to be interesting. I've seen a lot of the films, and I've seen several driving films on Anadina. I mean, anyone who's watched my my channel's reviews of all of them knows that I always like to give them all a chance, and some of them are really good, some of them are amazing, and some of them are not
good.
But so I was listening to it, and I admit, as I got into it, the more and more I got into it, I was enjoying it. The ending kind of hit me for a loop, but we'll talk about that as we go.
Yeah, Nami, once we hit that point, she was like, what? Is there a sequel?
Oh, yes. Cousin of Cojones virus.
Hell yes, dude. I'm down. I'm there for it. What about you, Cody? What was your first impression of this guy?
Yeah, I had heard Septum Sim talk about Evan Jacobs movies for quite a while, so already had a ringing endorsement which you already know that. So I was excited to watch it because this was something that Septimson and really liked, and then the fact that this was the you recommended us watching was fun. I watched it this morning just so it'd be fresh on my mind, and I just for a movie where it's one character and you have almost one location, like it was fun. Like I don't laugh out loud too much when I'm watching movies, and this one, like when he's giving them a little bit of bub so they can have some of it too. Like it was like if you watch that trailer out of context, you see like what is this little stringy stuff on top of his cojones? But it was I think to sum it up, it was fun.
To me, I think that the decision to use the bubblegum cigarettes and the Big League Chew was an excellent thing. I think that got a lot of extra laughs from me than I would have gotten if it hadn't been.
Oh God, I knew I was in love with it the moment he said, I got a bubba. It's just the best. And I would just put a quick disclaimer out there that if you don't recognize Big League Chew at a glance, you're too young for this channel. So you should probably let your parents know what you're watching on YouTube.
Can I explain? Can I say real quick why it was big? It was a candy and like not like the real stuff.
Go, please do.
Yeah, please do.
Mike, who's the star of that movie and the star of Death Toilet, Mike is, in my opinion, like he is a pioneer and even kind of a legend in like the hardcore punk scene. He does a record label called New Age Records, and they put out a ton of bands. They're still putting out bands, and I mean it's been that way since the early 90s. And Mike played in some bands like Outspoken and Drift Again and Against the Wall. And so anyway, Mike, like myself, is a straight edge. So he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do anything. Doesn't care if anyone else does. Neither of us ever have. But like it's one of those things that even in a movie, like I would never ask him to, and I would have no reason to, but like in a movie, like Mike isn't going to smoke a cigarette. Mike isn't going to drink alcohol, but I think this was sort of his way of kind of having fun with something like that. And it was his way to also give the character kind of something really dumb to do as he's trying to figure out why his sack is suddenly the size of grapefruits and watermelons.
Yeah, it's brilliant, dude. It's such a good choice. And as soon as he said that he was in punk bands, it made perfect sense because the straight edge thing. I'm definitely not straight edge. Yeah, I have tons of dirty habits. No worries. I've always respected that shit. As long as they're not those hammerhead type dudes that are out there trying to fight you because you're
never.
Or something,
Never. No. In fact, I mean, I'm saying that's something that Mike would definitely not be for either. It's like life is too short to be upset at people for what they eat and drink.
For sure. And you know what, kids? If you're watching this and learning about Big Chew and straight edge hardcore, go out and try it out. You don't have to be messed up to have a good time. This movie is
Amen.
Yeah.
And I loved it, dude. I mean, it's just so fucking funny him talking to the and Cody, excuse me, there's 3 characters in this movie. But yeah, I mean, it's such a fun choice, and it gives, like you said, something going on while all this is happening, because the movie has got this sort of brilliant minimalist thing going on with it, which is what immediately struck me. It's not reinventing the wheel or anything. It's not even attempting to. It's just a fun sort of pandemic road trip movie. It's the kind of thing that makes you want to go out and make a movie yourself, which is important with this stuff. You got to have that shit that's inspiring people to get out there and say, you know what? Let's go make our own goofy road trip movie with like bubblegum budget and just fun friends and good jokes, the whole gimmick of the movie.
Bubblegum budget. I love that. I love it. Thank you for that. I reserve the right to use that.
Yeah, it's free to use, man. Have at it.
And I'll admit, this one's the one that's gotten most consistent laughs out of me, to the level of how I laughed. I don't know why that last part of Death Toilet 3 always puts me into laughter.
See, I got to get to that. This is my third Evan Jacobs movie at this point. The first one I saw was Schusterman Levine, which is just one of my favorite sports movies of all time. Instantly. I mean, if you go back and listen to our discussion we did on, was it Movies Galore?
Yep.
I was instantly in love
double
with
feature.
that thing. And then, Brandon was nice enough to hook me up with a copy of it. So I got that going on there. And it's definitely
I'm honored you call that a sports movie.
Well, it's the greatest boxing movie ever made, dude. Like I'd put it's like that, Raging Bull, and then Rocky.
Right. More like Raging Baloney.
Hell yeah. So that was what I started with, and then actually my second one was Death Toilet. I'm not sure how I forgot that because I really enjoyed Death Toilet as well. And then this would have been the third. At some point this weekend, I might plow through those other 3 Death Toilet movies that I have, just to get them in me, But this is one that I'm certainly going to be revisiting a ton and showing to people. It's sort of like the perfect background movie for like a get together or something, because there's not like a ton of intricate activity going on. It's just something people can look over and laugh at, and that Mike guy is pretty much killing it as that character the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Cody is part of this thing for some anthologies where he's part of a duo of Pork Chop and Cooter, and I just couldn't help thinking that like this guy would be amazing interacting with those dudes. It's such a believable character right out of the gate, with his earpieces in, having these long conversations with people that are, I assume, his coworkers and stuff, various doctors that he, contacts after his trips to Lake Havasu. He's just planning on, going and making a big old sale, partying, doing some backflips. He's got his priorities straight. And unfortunately, a bathroom fly bites him and his testicles grow to enormous size. And that's pretty much the movie. But he's determined to make that sale, and he's always wanted a sales team under him. So he's just soldiering forward with it, forming an alliance with those terrifying testes. And, it almost works out. It comes close.
There will be spoilers, so if you get a chance, if you don't want to be spoiled on the movie, you might want to. The ending is the biggest thing that could be spoiled, but you might want to, just put $2 down. Watch it on Anhedenia.
Hey, they can put 99 cents down. They can, and they have 3 days to watch it. I mean, guys, I know what these movies are, and I know what they're not, and my feeling is, try to make things as cheap as possible. And then what I also try to do is with like Anhedenia Films TV on YouTube and just on social media, on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, I just want to provide a bunch of supplemental content. My feeling is keep things super duper cheap. So there will, you never want to say never, but I have no plans to ever do a Patreon. No plans to. It'll be, you can buy the DVDs. I try to keep those super. At least what I make off of them, it's extremely. It's not a lot of money. And then the Anhedenia Films Unlimited on demand. That is, it's either $2 a month, or you can own the film for $2, or you can rent it for 99 cents. So
there you go. Can't beat that, man. No. It's, to put that in perspective, that's half the cost of this Big League Chew.
Dang, right, exactly. Exactly. And for $2 you could own it, whereas Big League Chew, it's gonna run out.
Yeah, that is true. This will probably be gone by the end of the day if I keep bubbing up. Yeah, man, that's a great model to have, because it gets it. People are seeing the stuff. They're not paying an arm and a leg just to get one film or something. They can get out there and just basically enjoy your catalog, and then choose to go forward and support it further by buying the physical copies. And that's just great. I love that.
Well, thank you.
Butler's Parlor is also well worth going to the YouTube channel for. It's a fun little Wild West series. That's also very short but very fun.
Oh, and there's going to be a movie. There's going to be a feature-length movie. Just get ready. Get ready.
But do they get to San Francisco?
Well, this is sort of, they kind of have a. It's you know what? I'll tell you later, because I isn't Cody on like limited time. Like I don't want.
Let's get into the movie. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, we nailed out the plot pretty well, and if you go pay your 99 cents, you could be halfway done watching the movie already in the time we've been doing this podcast, because it comes in at a cool like 46 minutes or something like that, and that's including credits, which I'm also a big fan of stuff like that. Evan obviously knows what he's doing, so the movie didn't overstay its welcome in any capacity. It's exactly as long as it needs to be, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you guys think of our character? I mean, that's our characters, that's really what we got to get into the weeds with here, because there really isn't much plot to the movie. I mean, I don't remember if I heard what he was selling. There was pallets of it though, and he was going to sell a few more when he got there.
Like you could sell 700. I'm going to be selling 7,000.
Yeah, he's clearly a very, he's doing well at his job, whatever it is, some type of traveling salesman. I like to think maybe he was selling Big League Chew, and that's what he was working on.
I swear though, the drive was actually pretty cool as a part of the thing, because I mean, seeing a lot of the landscape, I mean, it looked like basically I've never been out. Well, that's not true. I've been to California and Nevada, but I have not driven in California or Nevada. At least not in the places outside Vegas, anyway. And that's a pretty cool landscape there. Was that like Texas or whatnot? I mean, that was pretty cool.
That was an area called Silverado Canyon, and I picked it because it kind of has that trucker biker kind of look, and I just said, look, let's just drive all around, and if we come across the same places, if we got like it doesn't matter. You're going to be zigzagging and crisscrossing, and the opening of the movie, when you see like the cars going by, I remember when I shot that, I remember thinking when I shot that, I wanted it to open kind of like those movies from like the 1970s that would sort of just begin sort of on a close-up of something and then pull back and you realize, oh, they're in this area. And so, yeah.
Oh, it works, man, and it does. There's some motorcycles in the movie too. Damn windy roads, motorcycles. It does remind me of like what the hell is it? I think it's Trip with Teacher. It's like an old Grindhouse movie where these bikers end up fucking with these kids on a school bus or whatever. But it kind of starts with like that same sort of a thing. Or Manos even kind of starts that way with like some road tripping and just some cool scenery. We are pretty blessed sort of out towards the west coast here with lots of fault line features like right there, so there's mountains and canyons all over the place, and it's good stuff. And then it's just a hop and a skip away to the proper desert, so it's no wonder so many great movies were shot over out this way, and this is one of them. I really did like the road trip stuff. I think my kid asked me at one point, and I think I'd seen the California license plate, so I just assumed it was somewhere in California.
You are right on.
Yeah, it's got that vibe. It's what is it, like central to Southern California? Starts looking more like that.
Southern, yeah, it's Southern California. But there's just these areas when you get up into like there's these hilly areas that you'll be in the suburbs, and then you go over this hill, and suddenly you're in this part, and I mean, there's other places. I made a movie called Tim Cohen. It was the second movie in the Tim Cohen trilogy, it's going to be a trilogy. And there was a specific area that had like a look of, this could possibly be Texas. And so we just used it.
Yeah, just run with it.
You need to get some like open source video of like that for the third movie, so you can have it look around and say, "Ah, yep, I'm authentically walking around there."
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna. You know what? You're not gonna talk about that after this. I'm gonna look into that because yeah, that can actually help the plot.
Because that first movie was really good. The second movie I sort of liked, but especially when the guy tries to get into the little box to make it work. But yeah, when you guys actually are
there's
both
just
on
so
the
many
screen,
absurd
you're done.
adventures I'm gonna get to go on with these Evan movies. Every bit that you talk about it, it sounds better and better.
And I need to let Cody get in on this as well, but I keep thinking about because I look at this and I've seen a lot of movies done in this style, but some of them can drag a little bit. This one didn't drag at all, though. To me, I mean, that character that y'all created was hilarious all the way through. Almost as good as the one. I think he played the other guy you were opposite on for the Bro Down, wasn't it? And
Yeah. Well, yeah, the guy that was Father D in Death Toilet, he was the guy in the Bro Down, and then in the Park, which I think you need Septum to really go back and revisit the Park, because I think the Park could grab you a little bit more.
I think that this character it reminds me a lot of like you'd see a character maybe like this in other movies, but you'd only get like 2 minutes of screen time with them during like a scene, and you'd find yourself like throughout the rest of whatever the hell's going on in the movie thinking like, man, I wish I was just hanging out with that guy that was having that loud conversation on his earpieces at the truck stop, like that would have been a better movie than this. And Cojones Virus delivers that. The whole movie is just you hanging out with that guy while his nuts grow super huge, and it's great. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this feller, Cody?
I think he's funny. I think it's funny that you made that connection with the pork chop and cooter thing. I may have to borrow some Big League Chew whenever I do my next short, if that's okay.
Yeah, a little tribute to the Cojones.
Who came up with the bubbing up?
Wait, look, you guys get me now. Bubbin' Up was all Mike. Bubbin' Up was all Mike, the guy that plays that character. He had this idea that that's what he would be, doing, and I was like, great, and like I said, I think it gave the character something more to do. Because, at any time I think Mike didn't feel like he was doing enough. I can put some more thing in my mouth, and oh man, I need my bubble gum. So yeah.
Yeah, I love how he starts gradually. He starts sort of with just one of the cigarettes, and then he gets multiple ones going, and then they'll swap between being in like frontwards or backwards. And I don't know if that was intentional or it just kind of happened as he's fumbling around for him, but it's great.
I think it may have. I think it may have just happened.
That's beautiful. And he seems like a decent enough dude. He's wearing like some pretty crazy clothing.
Hello?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no! I was just saying I'm actually organizing a script as we speak. It was I was somewhere and then I left it and yeah, and then it got unorganized. So I was.
That sounds like a nightmare to me, but I'm sure you guys are smart enough to number pages or something.
Exactly. Yes.
I would have forgotten and then been trying to remember the sequence of it from scratch. But yeah, man, I mean, he seems like a decent enough. He reminds me also of like that sort of slightly obnoxious uncle you have that wears like shirts about hooking up with fat chicks or something to the family dinner at Denny's or something, but they're fun, the guy just comes across as there's no misconception about the type of dude that you're going to be dealing with just looking at the character. I mean, his hat says "Ask me about my butthole,"
Yes.
Yes, it does.
He's the type of dude I would buy a beer for at a bar, even if he wasn't going to drink it, just for the gesture of like, look at this dude living his best life. Here you go, buddy. Yeah, man, he's great. And so was there any specification of what he was selling, or is it just meant to be kind of vague?
Yeah, for me, it was more the idea, which sort of ties into the ending of the movie. Just the idea of like America and like we sell things. And my feeling is that he's selling something, like, and I don't know what it is, but man, I'm going to sell a lot of them, and I'm going to do all these pallets and this and that, and and I just remember having jobs either in sales or like on the phone or something like that, and there was always what's the word? There's always like the competition. There was always and I kind of just wanted to touch on that, sort of a guy that was just, I don't know if he got what he deserved, but I don't know. I wanted him to be selling something, and
Right.
for his troubles ends up getting this awful virus.
We could say, if we wanted to get real deep with it, that he's selling the American dream, like 7 pallets of it, maybe more.
Yes. Yes.
That's hell yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, he's pretty much just on his way. At one point, he gets bit by the bathroom bug. He's got the virus. I don't think he realizes anything's up until he kind of throws up a bunch of carrots and maybe some cabbage. It looked pretty tasty what he was throwing on the shoulder of the road there. And then he hears on the radio that there's this Cojones virus going around affecting people's beanbags. And he kind of freaks out a little bit. He's calling his VD doctor that he usually deals with or whatever, because this guy's getting it. What's the lady that he's supposed to be meeting? Linda?
Linda. Yes.
That's such a good name for Virginia. A guy. That would work too. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, he's getting it out there, so he has cause to have like a doctor on speed dial for sure, and he's a responsible dude, it seems like. So he calls him frequently just to keep up to speed on what's going on with his various parts, and there's something going on with his parts. they're growing to enormous size. He's got to fling him over his shoulder at one point when he's using the urinal. That's when I died for real. Like when he flung him over his shoulder, I couldn't deal with that. That was too good. So I guess that leads us to the elephant in the room. What were those balls made out of, Evan?
They were balloons, and I think we were gonna, but we couldn't find them. But we wanted to have like the stockings or whatever they're called. We wanted them to be like the flesh colored ones. We couldn't find those, and so this was just what we ended up going with. And yeah, they were just balloons, and it was funny because people that have reviewed it have said, oh, and they think it's funny to have someone throw balloons in a stockings over their shoulder. And I thought, well, that may not be funny, but reading you writing about that is funny. So
yes.
It served
he
its
still
purpose.
wins. It's still a point for Evan. I thought it was hilarious. I mean, what's wrong with people? Was your imagination completely depleted? I mean, just seeing it in your mind, you immediately, there's a sound associated with it. If you were flinging a giant ball bag over your shoulder, all you need is the visual aid. We don't need to see it in graphic detail. Come on,
right?
Yeah, the balloons and the friggin' stockings were fine. I think that was the best route to go with it. Yeah, man, and I don't know how much science went into conceptualizing this, but I think that is probably the only part of your body that could swell like that rapidly and not create a real problem. It's pretty elastic down there. It's got elasticity to it. I think there was a reasonable size for the Cojones to grow to, because I think you could survive that and be in the situation this dude's in. Like, what the hell happened to my balls? Well,
it's also by virtue of the name of the film. Once I had that name, I just needed to come up with a story, because you tell people, oh, it's called the Cojones virus. I mean, I don't think you're going to find too many people that don't know what cojones are. And so,
Yeah.
you know, and like you said, as far as swelling, like it's the perfect thing. And that's why right now, as we kind of get ready to do cousin of cojones virus,
So rad.
just as far as I know, and I don't know how much this is going to change, things are going to get sort of a double your fun kind of vibe happening. So, yeah, that's going to kind of be the case in the sequel.
So many possibilities there. I look
Yes.
forward to it. Oh man.
So okay, I had a thought here, and I wanted to put this out there because I'll admit a lot of these films I don't watch enough to analyze them fully. I am working on one, but I've hit a really bad roadblock. But I'm going to get back into it. Watching this like a third time now. So there was that moment where he decides, you know what? No, I don't need the doctor there. Was that like supposed to show that his moment of kind of greed for trying to make those sales kind of outweighed his thoughts about being in danger, and then of course ends up with him meeting a worse end at the end of the movie? Or was it more of that sort of thing like, well, these guys are my friends, I'm happy with this type thing, which was my first impression?
I think more than anything, it was just a lack of a cast, you know? And so it was just like, hey, you know, this is what we have. And so he's gonna just sort of keep going that, you know, and I'm not against this at all, but just sort of that American, like, you know, hey, you know, you play when you're hurt, you know, and you know, we don't go into war with the tanks that we want, we go into war with the tanks that we have. And so he was gonna get through this. And so I think that was more the psychology of it mixed in with the radio stuff, which I was sort of, and I don't know if this came across, but Septim, in a review that you did, I think you really got it. Like, I was trying to kind of make fun of the whole anti-vax, anti-mask movement. Like, I don't mean to insult anyone. It was just more just to kind of have fun with just sort of just some of the outrageous things that I was sort of seeing at the time. And then on top of that, it was trying to be, I always loved the confusion at the beginning of Dawn of the Dead. I was just how you had that guy talking, and I wanted to have sort of a voice throughout the movie, which is to maybe jump ahead just a little bit. That's why the movie ends the way that it does. Like, I wanted you to be enjoying it, and then all of a sudden, wait, what? He really dies because of this thing. So that was sort of my intent, and I'm glad to see even if you didn't like the ending, that's kind of what I wasn't going for you not to like the ending, but at least I sort of you didn't see that coming.
Right.
Definitely
and
not.
It definitely leaves you wanting more too. Like, you know, like my 12-year-old was like, what is there a sequel? You know, like, we got
you were the best
what
dad
happened.
in the world for showing them that movie.
Yeah. She enjoyed it. Yeah, man. And that sort of, I didn't pick up on the whole, like, you know, competitive aspect of it, but when he started like lying about having it, it definitely felt like, oh, there was a lot of people doing that when the shit first kicked off, and they were like, oh, it's no big deal, I've got all these crazy symptoms, but I'll just walk it off, you know, I don't care.
Right.
No, I'm fine, I can totally show up to work and give it to everybody in the office, kind of a thing.
Well, I mean, how was it different than normal? I mean, people had been forced to work with hantavirus and viruses that are near fatal in the past and weren't given an excuse. So it is kind of that sort of thing. So I can see that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't obviously, like, I have a lot of friends who are anti the vaccines, anti wearing masks, and God love you. Like, I you know, do what you want. You know, it was just more, I don't really delve into like talk about like my political leanings and stuff like that, except for in the movies. Like I try to show, look, this is where I stand on something. This is how I feel about something in a funny way. It's in this movie,
Totally.
but it's not meant to, I'm not anti people. Like if we disagree, I think, I mean, come on, disagreement is how this country was founded. So if we take that away, come on,
diverse and all that good stuff.
Like I love
hearing
what
humor.
You guys are saying about like, oh, there isn't much of a plot, and there isn't much of this. I love it because I'm well aware of that, and hey, I'm not fooling you, and I like that.
It is what it is, right on its sleeve, and that's refreshing sometimes. There's no firing up Cojones virus thinking you're getting one thing and then being disappointed halfway through or something. It's exactly what it means to be, and it succeeds very well at doing it. And any little jabs there and good humor. It's not like you were being mean about it. We're a big fan on this channel of like, good-natured roastings. I think that's
oh yeah,
it's just fun. So
actually, what was y'all's thoughts about that ending? Because that ending definitely caught me off guard.
I was shocked for sure. I was really hoping he wasn't actually dead.
So that's why you got to see the sequel.
Yeah. So that was kind of my main thought, was like, what the hell? But I mean, I guess if you wanted to nitpick it, you could be like, well, why didn't they blow up when he flung him over his shoulder? But maybe they hadn't reached critical mass yet, so it's they had to gestate a while longer. This isn't really a movie.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Why wouldn't they have exploded when he threw him? I didn't even think about that. Thank you. No. That's a really good point.
I occasionally accidentally have good options.
No, that was good.
But yeah, I just always kind of wrote it off as they needed to incubate a little bit longer. They weren't quite ripe yet. I've never dropped my keys on my testicles, but I imagine it would hurt. It's oftentimes the minor things that hurt the worst. It's like you can get punched in the nuts, and you might just have your heart in your throat for a minute, but you're mostly just going to almost pass out, But if you get pee-pee tapped, like a quick, like that hurts so much worse sometimes because it's a sensitive area, So dropping the car keys on there, I imagine might feel like what was visually represented in the film. But yeah, he's all covered in blood, and you couldn't tell if he was alive or dead. And I think it fell off at a good moment there to keep you wanting more. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I went into it. I knew how long it was, so I kind of had an idea in my head of whereabout I was in the movie, and I didn't think it was over yet. I don't know if that's.
Oh.
I don't think that's me.
Maybe it's the Cojones virus striking again.
Yeah, I think we're. Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna be over yet. I figured the guy was at least gonna go in and make that sale. So I was surprised it ended that way. I wasn't upset by the ending. I was like, I mean, obviously, I know now that it was what you were going for. It's an unexpected ending, and you can't be upset with an ending you didn't see coming, because that's the whole point. Why would you want to see it coming? Like, why would you want to have the movie figured out before it's over? So I like that. I'm going to kind of rapid fire through my stuff a little bit, if that's okay.
Fire away, dude.
Go for it. Yeah, I know you got it this time.
I thought it was the energy drink, or the energy drink that the Cojones didn't want to have an energy drink. Obviously wanted to not be jittery while they're helping driving. I like that they also were very good at puns. How the gum was ball-tastically good. Like that was a good, like, it's funny that they themselves are good at puns. I also thought the anti-diaper, anti-girdle movement was very funny. It definitely is. You're bringing more characters to the movie without there being extra people. Like there's something else that you can gain your info on. The fact that it's a radio station is brilliant, because that's where you get that's where you get the news from. And if you're a driver or somebody doing deliveries and stuff, I'm guessing you're probably going to listen to talk radio a lot.
Oh yeah.
I had something else too.
They come into the gas station all the time, blasting some
Oh, yeah.
crazy talk radio. And it's always those like pilot car drivers or people that are on the road forever and they just get tired of music sometimes, I guess.
That's good to hear some talk once in a while.
I've only listened to it a couple of times. One time the FM stations just went out, so I found myself on AM radio driving down the road listening to like these Christian like sportscasters talk about something to do with college football. It wasn't very interesting, but just hearing these Southern dudes talking was nice. You back, Cody? You lag out?
Yeah, I had something else, but I lost it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it'll come back to you here. I mean, we're basically just about to the end, and we're keeping right in time with the runtime of the movie, which we've been doing real well about lately.
This will be like an adjunct to the film, you know. You can
Right.
watch the movie and then have it broken down for you on Schlockaholics.
That's
Hell
right.
yeah, just mute the movie and listen to this over it like a commentary track. I think that now that you've pointed out the dead connections too, there is a lot of that you could draw between the two. The ending does remind me a bit of Night of the Living Dead, when he just gets shot coming out of the house or whatever. Like it's just sudden, and then you're like, "What the hell?" You know. And then there's like some audio playing over that as the credits start up and stuff, and the different still photos. Cody pointed out a good point there about how like just the introduction of these other characters that you don't even necessarily see with the anti-diaper brigade and stuff. It creates like activity around what's going on in the film, so it makes it feel bigger, like it just in your mind. It's kind of like when you see the rednecks in Dawn of the Dead or whatever, and you don't really see them for the rest of the movie, but in the back of your head, you know they're out there on like a farm riding around on ATVs, blasting zombies and just doing awesome stuff, probably doing some backflips at Lake Havasu. It's, you know, it's a good way to, like, I don't want to say artificially, because it's a good like writing device or whatever to build the scope of the film without necessarily having to visualize it. And that's rad. You know, I love a good minimalist movie like this. And it's about as minimal
that's that. Like, I mean, I didn't, you know, at one point in my life, I used to, you know, I would write a full script and I would cast it and do all that stuff. And I did that from like 95 to like 98. And it burned me out just because the amount of cajoling I was having to do with a lot of people, the amount of horse trading that you have to do with people to get movies made, it just burned me out because I mean, if you know, if you're not into it, tell me that you're not into it, or if you don't have time, or, you know, but so anyway, when I came back to making films, one of the first films I did was a movie called Angela's Home Movie. And that was just me, 4 days. I mean, it didn't take me 4 days to make it, but I shot it over 4 days. And I was like so empowered by that. That is what has led to all these subsequent films. And I'm learning. And like what you guys just said, like I didn't, like Cody made a great point, and you know, you Mo too, and of course you Seth, but that whole thing about having a bigger cast without there being a bigger cast, like I wasn't even thinking about that. I just wanted to have, I was trying to rip something off from one of the Dead movies, but it really does help expand things. And you know, that now that you put a seed in my head of, okay, wait, how big of a movie can I do without there actually being anyone else in the movie?
Oh, it's great, man. The newscaster guy, like, you can't help but picturing in your head that he's in like some news station somewhere broadcasting this. People are hippity hopping down the street on their ball bags, like Stan's dad in that episode of South Park. Like, it's just pandemonium, you know.
I swear I thought that was you on the radio and not Popeye, but according to the IMDb, it was Popeye was on the radio.
It is actually me. Popeye wasn't able to do it, and he kind of was making fun of me because he wasn't able to do it. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to say that you did it. So
okay.
that is how I get back at my best friends. If you spurn me, I put you in the movie anyway.
That's great. That's one of my favorite things I've heard in a long time. So you any inkling of a memory on what else you had pinned in your brain over there, Cody?
Oh yeah, I like the idea that the Cojones, whenever they were talking, it was a like a keyboard or a typewriter going.
The typewriter.
I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, in my brain, it's the Anhedenia logo. Like,
Right.
you know.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even, Brad. No, I didn't even think about that. I have no idea. I'll be honest. I think that was a mistake. I think I was going for another sound, and I accidentally put that, and I was like, screw it. It works. Just get this thing done. So, yeah,
Right.
that's awesome. It ties into Anhedenia. Thank you. I've learned a lot about myself on this Schlockaholics show.
Hell yeah.
It's like a therapy session, but in a good way.
So what was your favorite moment in the movie, Cody? I definitely want to get your favorite in there before we're done here.
I think it's the cojones bubbing up. That's
yeah.
Like, I mean, it works. Like, I literally went to the store today, and of course, this isn't as readily available here. I'm not sure as other places. I think it'd be really funny if I got this, and then I could do it during the live. And then obviously, me and Mo share the same brand more often than not.
It was a good way to kick it off. I couldn't not do it, you know. I haven't had Big Week Tubes since I was like 10 or something, you know. So this was
I don't think I have either.
Yeah.
You know, I guess we gotta go.
Let me knock out my little part. I mean, if you want to wrap it up, I've got a couple more minutes, but I just wanted to, Evan, 7 Cents talked you up a lot, which I know can sometimes be a good or bad thing, but I'm just letting you know that he was right for sure. Like I told you separately, I mean, like I went ahead and hopped on and got a copy of Mansplained just based off of this. So, I mean, it's this group right here, like we're very big on supporting the people we like, especially with this indie stuff. You know, it means a lot more. We can actually help contribute to this stuff, and it helps you guys create more. So if nothing else you get out of this, I just want to thank you and let you know that you made a fan out of this, and I will definitely be looking for others of your stuff from here on out.
I am honored, and the fact that you guys care to, you know, talk about this film and do this, you know, it is honestly this type of stuff. What you guys are doing is what keeps these films alive, because someone may not find out about the movie except on this, and maybe they don't find out about it for like a few months. Maybe they come across Schlockaholics somewhere and they're like, oh, okay, wait, the Cojones virus, what was that? So hey, when he said get them some copies, I was like, I'm gonna get, I put them in the mail. I sent them a text. I said they're in the mail. We did our yay, and here we are. So it's my honor, and I'm just grateful that you guys are doing this, and I'm grateful that it worked out. I actually left believe it or not, I left a rehearsal of Mansplained just now. So this is all serendipitous, and I am grateful.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely have to do more of these when you're free in the future too. We're gonna try to keep going with having, you know, the directors on for the discussions of the films themselves, you know, rather than just doing like a general career-wide Q&A all the time type thing. Which we'll probably want to do one of those with you at some point as well, you know, just to get it in the books, sort of as like an entry-level thing for new fans that want to learn more about you. And once we get our link tree set up at the end of these episodes, which I've been meaning to do all last year, but this year I'm getting more efficient with that stuff. So we'll put a little Anhedenia on demand link down in there. People can
please, yeah, Anhedenia Films Unlimited. Please, thank you so much.
Yeah. It's a good resource to get access to a lot of fun films. I've seen 3 so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing as many more as possible. So I would pretty much echo all of Cody's sentiments there. I'm relatively new to your movies, but Brandon has certainly given us a good impression of them. And yeah, man, you seem like a really rad dude. You know, it's the first time you've came around and done stuff with our circle of dudes. He was part of the Versus Awards a couple of different times, maybe, or was it just the first year?
Won a Versus Award for, was it
Best Director?
Was
it Cruel Summer?
Cool Summer, yeah.
Cool Summer. Sorry, I said the name wrong. Actually, real quick, the reason why it's called Cool Summer and not Cruel Summer, and it was supposed to be called Cruel Summer, which would have been the name of that TV show, so I'm glad that it didn't work out. My godson wasn't able to say Cruel Summer. He kept saying Cool Summer. So I said, that's what we're calling it. And I just realized, Mo, You're wearing a Splatter Farm shirt. That's
yeah.
Eric Stans, right? Eric Stans?
It's the Polonias,
Oh,
yeah?
yeah, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm confused for some reason. Yeah, either way. Oh, man. No, that brings back a lot of memories. Because I remember reading about that in a book I was in with them in 95.
Oh, yeah. It's a gnarly film. Recommend it. Not as fun as Evans. It's pretty greasy.
Oh, they're good. All those guys. Hey, those guys paved the way. I'm just sort of chugging behind them.
Hell yeah. I don't know. What's your favorite scene in the movie, Brandon, if you had to pick one?
Oddly enough, I think it went right back to the to when we had the stuff from the trailer when they started talking like, "No, we got this," and they take the wheel, and just doing that while they're making the puns as they're driving along. I just thought that was hilarious. Matter of fact, I think the most tragic thing is the loss of Hansel and Gretel, as they are as they were amazing characters in this film.
Yeah, man. The driving scene is it's tied. I think it's all sort of kind of one sequence, but him giving him the bubble gum and the cigarettes and then offering him the energy drink is classic. And then them taking over the driving and his reaction to it is just so great. That is the exact moment too where my kid knew that we were watching something special. I don't think either of us were prepared for the Cojones to start driving. I like how he asks them if they have a license. He's like, "Do you have a license?"
I love that. That was all him. That's all Mike. He did that. I
love it.
He did excellent.
It just makes me think about the balls waiting in the DMV without him somehow, taking the test. So stupid.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
So yeah, those would be my favorites. I honestly, was there there's a soundtrack to this, eh? I was laughing so hard that I wasn't really picking up on the music so much. And I have a problem.
Yeah,
with
kind
that.
of John Carpenter. Whenever I'm in need of music, my first thought is Carpenter, or Klaus Schultz, Tangerine Dream. And so I went with the bam 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 bam. Yeah. So yeah, that would have been.
I feel that
was done by Sean. My God, Sean Miller.
Sean Miller, yeah. Doesn't that kick in right as the bug bites him for the first time?
Yeah, it opens the film, and then everything's kind of like, kind of canned music, and then all of a sudden he gets, and then bum bum.
Yeah. I remember that created a good edge. You kind of sit up in the chair a little bit, like, all right, something's happening here, So I noticed it there, but I mean, I was laughing for most of it, and then enjoying the kids' reaction to it and talking with her about it, and having a lot of these same wonderings that we've been having here. It's good stuff. This is the type of shit that you could almost break it up in parts and broadcast it during a block of Adult Swim or something between cartoons in 10-minute chunks. It's got that good, fun, absurd vibe to it, and I'm just a fan of that stuff. But yeah, those would be my favorites, and what I do remember of the music was definitely effectively used there. So yeah, I would give it a thumbs up as well. I think in future viewings of this, I'll pay a lot more attention to it because I'm a sucker for a good soundtrack, and I like that Carpenter shit.
Oh, you and me both. You and me both.
What about upcoming projects? Is there something that we should have people know to check out?
Well, there's the Mansplained project, which is the first one that I've ever done. That's through SRS Cinema, Ron Bonk. There's a Indiegogo for that, which I other than working with Ron, I don't see myself really venturing into the Indiegogo world at all. But there's that. We have a movie that's like I said, this year we plan on, Mike and I plan on doing Cousin of Cojones Virus. We want to do a Butler's Parlor feature this year too. And then I need to edit. I have a movie called that I'm editing right now called Care Killer, which is a takeoff of the term caregiver, and it's about a guy who's neurodiverse but is nonverbal, and he kills his caregiver and then proceeds to eat the caregiver and then go out on the town. But it's not really a comedy. But the tagline is, just because they care for you doesn't mean that they like you. And then the other movie that I need to edit after that is Maximum Stroller Drive, which is, as you can guess, is about a killer stroller.
I am there, dude. Both those last two sound amazing. All of it sounds fun, but I think I need some more context for a couple of the other ones. But the man,
Sean Senior Year is getting a full release soon too, isn't it?
Oh, thank you so much, Septim. Yeah, Sean Senior Year. That's obviously kind of that's a little bit different of a film. That's a documentary about my godson Sean. He has autism. We co-directed it. He did the soundtrack for it, and it follows him going from high school to an adult transition program, and then in the midst of that, COVID happened. So it sort of has like a historical, like we see a little bit of COVID summer when everything was kind of locking down, the whole George Floyd thing, like with curfews and everything. And then amidst that, you have a kid that is like, where did my world go? And then, hey, your world's gone. Now you're being put in a new world because you're not in high school anymore. Deal with it. And so it is that is going to be coming out on the 24th of January, and that's going to be on streaming. It comes to DVD next month, and then we're going to be doing screenings for that. We have the first one February 4th at 5:30 p.m. California time, and then also there's going to be an Anademia Film screening series on YouTube, with the first one being Insect on the 28th of January.
Oh, wow. That's going to be fun.
Such a fun movie. And I'll say Sean Senior Year is probably one of the best that I have seen. And there's a lot to choose from on that. And and the best of the best, as far as I'm concerned, they're up there. I would put that right up there with the other documentary, which is was an Orange County Hardcore Scenester. I think which is, I mean, anybody interested in the punk scene of that time, of the 90s over in California, that's to me a must watch. But yeah, I'd say as far as I'm concerned, it's probably one of the better, probably some of the highest quality stuff that I've seen.
It sounds very interesting, and like the kind of thing a lot of people probably need to see. You know, it was easy for a lot of us that don't deal with that kind of stuff to just be bummed we couldn't go to the Costco as much as we wanted or something, you know, but there's other people who had a very different kind of hard time dealing with the COVID onset. And yeah, I'm interested to check that out for sure.
No, you bring up a very good point. Like, I'm just saying how, you know, we were all inconvenienced, but there were some people that it was inconvenienced in a way that goes well beyond, like you said, not being able to go to the Costco that we wanted.
Boo hoo, the movie theater's closed. Like,
right.
Watch one of your movies at home, you know.
Right.
We had easy fixes for most of that stuff, whereas like a lot of people didn't, you know. So
yeah.
And just documenting someone's senior year seems like a rad concept anyways, even without all of that. I don't think the closest to a documentary I've seen from you is Schusterman Levine. So I definitely going to have to check out that Hardcore Scenester one as well. Septim Sin has recommended it to me several times.
If you like the punk scene at all, it's a really good one. And I've been trying to get Dan to watch it for ages, because I feel like Dan would be he would be very into it as well. But I sent him a copy way back in the day, so he has a copy.
We might have to wrangle that boy and get a watch party going or something and just watch it together, man.
Please. If I'll wrangle me, I would love to be a part of that too, just because, you know, and there's also on the Anademia Films TV YouTube, I do what I call an addendum to the movie, which is I've been doing these interviews that there's like 220 or so up right now, and I'm just keeping on going, and it just chronicles that scene. But I mean, there's, I have the guy that I just put up an interview today. He engineered the first Offspring record, and he talks about how he did No Doubt stuff. So even if you're not about Orange County hardcore, there's stuff in there that you can pick out and go, oh, this or that.
I remember those guys.
Whatever.
Yeah. Even your casual listener could probably find something worthwhile there. It sounds like.
Definitely.
Because there was that period too where all the punk stuff was blowing up to a certain point, or certain areas of it. So like even people that weren't into punk were going to get a little taste of it at some point. That's how I found a lot of it. And I was always more of a metalhead, but in the last couple of years I really got sort of tapped back into the punk stuff and ska and all that good shit.
Nothing wrong with metal. Nothing wrong with metal.
No, not at all. It's just not as fun, I'm a real sucker for the ska punk. I like that friggin', extra cheese sticks music, or whatever they call it. It's just good times, But that hardcore punk is, I've got some love for that as well. Cool. There's certain types of metal that we wouldn't have without that as well.
Right.
It kind of birthed its own subgenres and other genres. So, yeah, definitely we'll get that watch party going. I'll contact Dan about that tonight and see if he's down, and then we'll set up some kind of a concrete date. So yeah, man, thanks a ton for coming on. This has been a blast.
Thank you guys for having me. I don't know if I was supposed to come on for the whole thing or just a little bit. Septum sent the link. I came on, and I'm just grateful that you guys did this.
Oh, I love it, man. I'm glad that you were here for the whole thing. And like I said, we'll definitely do more of them. We're going to try to keep these going. You're our second director to come on for a chat like this. Anybody that wants to check out the other episode we did with Chris Seaver for the Death Lantern movies, that's up on here as well. And yeah, man, I mean, this was an absolute pleasure. We all learned a lot. We got to revisit Big League Chew. I still think they should just, probably see this movie. Maybe you should email it to the people at the National Baseball Hall of Fame and all this stuff. They might be able to print Ball-tastically delicious or whatever, like on the bag. I think that would be great.
Hey, I just thank you guys for bubbing up and doing this.
Hell yeah, man. So, go out and check out all of Evan's stuff. Get on over there, look into the Anhedonia films. Check out Septum Sin on Septum Sin versus the World. Check out the stuff we do with Inside Movies Galore. And thanks for watching yet another episode of Schlockaholics. I think this is one of our best ones yet. Hell of a way to kick off the new year. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good one all around. We got some fun films coming up for you in the near future. The nearest of which will be Chris Seaver's Evil Knight and Carousel. So we'll see you guys back when we're doing those.